Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the LFC transfer room. My name is Lewis, and today I'm joined by Carter. There's going to be a multi-magnitude of different guests who are going to be joining. So I don't really know where we begin with this one. It's been... There we go. Sorted. But yeah, so it's been announced that Jurgen Klopp is leaving Liverpool Football Club. He's come out today with the club and made the announcement that at the end of the season, he will be departing the side owing to, in his words, tiredness. He just can't keep up with the physicality of it all. He just thinks it's the right time to leave. I mean, yeah, Jen's put morning, guys, devastated. Can't disagree enough. I can't agree as much. I'm lost for words. The saddest news in a long time for Liverpool supporters, and it's Carter. I'm going to pass to you for a minute while I sort of compose my thoughts. How are you reacting to this news?
It's just, I think it's like, obviously I'm not like too much younger than you, but you know when people say like you know where you were when something happened, like it's just going to be ingrained, like. Because I think we all remember, like I remember watching Sky Sports News at the start, where like Henry grabs Carragher's leg, and then like Rodgers is sacked.
Yeah.
And like Klopp, I can't remember, it said Klopp's going to be coming in or Rodgers is sacked. And now it's just like, just start making some breakfast for Fabrizio Romano. You're just like, it's got to be fake. Look on, see Paul Joyce. You're like, oh, like this is terrible. But I just think, it's just, we've got to enjoy what we've got left. Like, it's going to be like a very emotional end of the season, and probably the most expensive ticket for the last Liverpool game of this season, probably ever. Probably cost you more to go to our last league game than a Champions League final. But yeah, it'll be very interesting. Hopefully maybe his last game is actually in Dublin, but it'll be interesting.
I mean, you're absolutely right. That ticket for Wolves is going to be flying out. I'm really struggling here. I promise I will show a bit of professionalism on this. I really will. We've lost players and we've lost managers in the past, and I feel like this is the sort of thing that people would have felt when Bill Shankly left. The fans of around that time period. It's Jurgen Klopp. In the 8 years he's been here, has given more to this club than any player can, and he's a god amongst us all, I feel. And the news that he's leaving is a shock, because I think we all had this sort of prerequisite narrative that he was staying until the end of his contract. He's always said that. He's always said, look, 2026, and then I'm done, or there were talks of maybe even extending it. I mean, I want to get your thoughts on this, on a few different bits. We're going to sort of break it down bit by bit. We're going to be on for, I imagine, about an hour or so, around about then. This is very sort of impromptu, so see how we go. What do you think sort of inspired him to announce it now? It just feels very odd after we've just got to a cup final and it's like a Friday afternoon. It's before like an FA Cup game. It's strange timing for this to be announced.
I agree with you to a level, but I also think this might be the most perfect time to announce it, because I think the way you look at it, because I've seen it, apparently he said in November that this was it. He said, I want to leave. He's like, done. So I think let's say you announce it before the Arsenal game or before the Chelsea game, do things become too emotional? Like, is it almost better to have Norwich and just get through Norwich? Obviously, it's going to be like the shock of the first sort of, oh, he's leaving. And then after that, it kind of changes. And I don't want to compare us to Everton. But, when Everton looked like they were going to go down, and before every game, it was like flares and stuff, great atmosphere. I almost think as he looked and gone, we're in the second half. We're here. We'll say it now. Everyone full throttle. Like, if you're how many home games are left? I'm not sure. League home games, maybe 8 or 9.
It'll be 9 if we're at the halfway point or just after, round about that.
So if you're now home, obviously the away support's always very, very good. But if you're at home now, it's going to be a mad last 9 games now. Every game is going to be a final. The players are going to be going all out. Klopp's going to be like it's the last dance, like it's the last chance with this Klopp group. So almost now I think, is this a sort of momentum to keep us going, hold us through, get the whole team back, and then just go absolutely crazy until the end?
I mean, possibly. It's a really good point, to be fair. And I tweeted it out before saying that if this doesn't get the lads motivated to go out and win everything or have a real go on all fronts, then nothing will. This is like the biggest possible kick up the arse. Not that they needed it, but for Klopp to leave. And I did a video on my channel a few days ago where I was saying, unless we win every single trophy every single season, we are never going to be able to repay what Jurgen Klopp has done for us. And it's just devastating. And you know, there's a lot of comments, guys. Keep them coming in. I'm going to get through some of them. Jen, thank you so much for the $4.99. Can I ask, do you think the owners go and who takes over? I'll get your thoughts on this in a second, Carter, because I don't think the owners go. I don't think people are trying to, and it might be the case. We don't know the full details, but Klopp has always said that when he can't deliver physically as he has been, that's when he'll step back. And this is the reason why he's saying he's leaving. I don't think the owners personally have too much involvement in this. I think this did feel like a very Jurgen Klopp decision, the way he announced it, the way the commentator was saying, Jurgen, you've got something you want to say to the fans. It wasn't the club making a statement saying, oh, you know, we've agreed terms. Do you get that feeling at all, or do you think the owners could have a bit more to do with this?
I think, honestly, I think the owners have kind of facilitated him like leaving, because they almost do as a manager like Klopp. If he wants to leave, you can't be like, well, you've got two years left. Like, that's not going to work. Like any sort of top club, like if a manager really wants to leave, unless it's like they're stepping up, like was it Potter to Chelsea was £20 million. Like if they're actually just like, I'm leaving, I'm going for a year. As Liverpool, we can't look like we're holding him hostage. I just think it's more now. I don't think they'll sell. I think obviously we're more attractive to buy if Klopp's there, not by a significant margin, but that maybe adds a few hundred million onto the price tag, because you look and go, you've got such safe hands coming in now, like when you come in as owners, whereas now so much has got to change. So I almost think, I know people won't like it, but unless we were going to get one of the 10 richest men in the world, or like Steve Ballmer or something, I almost think it's not the worst thing to have FSG, who are quite sensible, who will likely go out and try and get a best-in-class sort of director of football. Like, that's the one thing I think they don't miss. They would rather get the best sporting director and spend 25 million less in the transfer window than go and get like a novice and splash the cash on someone who actually isn't going to suit us.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of the comments are discussing. Like I said, guys, there's plenty to get through, because it feels like we knew this day was coming, but I think we've all been in such denial of like, Klopp has to stay, Klopp will stay till the end of his contract, that now, because it's happening, it's sort of, we've got to unpack everything and we have to accept that this is reality now. A lot of the comments are saying, Xabi Alonso, or no one, but welcome to Liverpool, Xabi Alonso. That could be another thing that's factored into it. Obviously, Alonso is certain. Ancelotti's signed a contract at Real Madrid to stay till 2026, I believe. That's when Klopp's was also due to run out. And maybe Liverpool have sort of decided, look, we don't want Alonso to possibly risk going to Real Madrid. Maybe this is a thing of, look, if Klopp goes the end of the season, we can get Xabi Alonso, but Is Alonso the man for you? Is he the one that we want to take over from Klopp? I mean, yes, I think he is personally, but I want to get your thoughts on it.
I think it's interesting, because obviously I think I've seen you on like James Lawrence Walcott's channel and stuff, and I think I remember seeing a video, and he's like, everything he's done has kind of been quite slow. Like, he's never taken like, not stupid, but he's never been too quick. Like, he's always waited for himself to be ready. And maybe that's sort of what Gerrard's mistake was, going to Villa when he wasn't ready. Like, maybe he should have gone to a club with a little less expectation, and like slowly level up. And I think he might look at it and go, sometimes there's great succession plans, but a lot of the time, if you're going from Klopp to someone else, sometimes there isn't. It's not an easy adjustment period. Sometimes
Yeah.
it might be better. Alonso might think, I'd rather be the second guy in after Klopp rather than the first guy, because there's going to
Yeah.
be so much expectation, so much hangover from this whole the way everything's been done. There's going to be the growing pains. Like maybe he looks at it and goes, "Oh, I'll take a year," but I just think we, although Alonso is the top candidate, you got to remember Klopp had good stock, but his stock wasn't like absolutely unbelievable. Like there was still
Yeah.
some things, and maybe you look at someone like Nagelsmann, who statistically was very good at Bayern, but he was sacked because I think there was a lot of disagreements. Or maybe someone like Ruben Amorim, but he plays more of a three at the back, which might not suit us, although obviously in possession with Gomez. Or maybe you look at, I know it doesn't really suit the Premier League, but Thiago Motta like Bologna, or someone like a young sort of player coach. Maybe we look into something like that. And although I would personally, I think Alonso is the dream, but I feel like he almost might take a step and wait a year.
Do you think it maybe just go to another club just before coming to us, or maybe staying at Bayer Leverkusen maybe just for a bit longer?
Yeah, maybe staying a bit longer, like be in the Champions League. Like he's never had Champions League and league management at the same time. Like it's a big adjustment to step up to all of that is big. Like look at the impact it's had on Arsenal. They're a few points worse off. Like I think he might look and go, I'm very safe. I've got so much stock at Leverkusen. I know exactly how I want to play. We're playing that way. Like, or maybe if he wins the league, he goes, this is I leave on top, leave a great legacy. But it will just be interesting. I don't think he knows that job will come around. Like, how often have we had a manager for 8 years? Like the Real Madrid job and the Liverpool job and the Bayern job will all be available to Alonso at some point, unless he does a Steven Gerrard and ends up in Al Ettifaq. But it will just, I just don't know. It will just be interesting. As long as we don't get Gerrard or Hodgson in, we should be all right. But it's just a sad day.
I mean, Alonso is going to get discussed plenty over the next few weeks. And as much as I'm happy to talk about Alonso, I feel like Jurgen Klopp deserves to have this stream discussing his sort of, and I think you've made really interesting points. I think we're just going to discuss Klopp for a bit because he's undoubtedly, and I've already cried today, so I don't want to do it again, but Klopp has given us some of the happiest moments of our lives, and I have footballing memories that I'm going to tell my kids about, and things like the Dortmund comeback, the win over United, the 2-0 win over United, where we knew we were going to win the league. We just had that feeling. Champions League finals, Barcelona, the late Newcastle. It's so many big moments, and Klopp is, when he came to the club, it just felt like it was a match made in heaven. It was something that was so perfectly lined up, and we just knew Klopp was the man. And looking back now, it's a scary thought to think Klopp came in 8 years ago and you think, oh my God, we've got him for a long time. We've got him for the future. And now in a few months' time, it's going to be, we had Jurgen Klopp, it's in the past. I mean, it's devastating really to see. And there's a lot of comments, I love Jurgen, love him to bits. James makes a good point. The man after Shankly retirement was Paisley, a man filled with passion, followed by a tactical thinker. Alonso was clear, in my opinion. No manager, and you can jump in at any point, Carl. Like, just give me your thoughts on him as a whole. No manager is going to be able to do what Jurgen Klopp's done in terms of both on and off the pitch for a while. Like, I don't know what you think about that.
I think quite like an interesting thing is I don't know, obviously, the state of the squad or like his last season, but obviously, if you look at Shankly to Paisley, like, has Klopp almost put us back to the top, put us on a good even stead, like we're a good competing team, and then the next manager gets to come in and just look at the team that someone's going to like. It's not just about, like, if you look at Wenger, it's not just about how you come in and your middle stint. It's a lot of the time you're remembered how you leave. Like you're seeing that kind of with Henderson now. It's how you leave is how you're remembered. So Klopp has almost now, to his own detriment, he's set the scene for someone to come in and almost on field eclipse him. Like you think how promising this team is now. is if you can get someone, like, I don't know if that's what Shankly did. I don't know Shankly looked at the team and went, this is a great team. I can leave it now and it will be good. So maybe it is like that. And I think that's so great that unlike someone like Sir Alex, who, although he won the league, he left them with what, like Rio Ferdinand, like at 30, whatever. Like the
Yeah,
whole team was so
Vidic,
old.
Ebra. Yeah.
And that's why they're now stuck there. Whereas if you look at us, what we've got one midfielder over 25. Like we've got,
Yeah,
I know
Endo,
Salah's
Thiago.
older. Oh yeah, Endo and Thiago. But I know Salah's older, but we've got such a young team and guys who, older guys, maybe Salah might not last 6 years, but Alisson and Van Dijk might. Like, I think the thing I'm most thankful for is that he's left us in such a good space and he didn't leave after last year. Like, I think that would have really not in, I would have still respected him, but I think you've got to leave it good, or if not better than how you've arrived.
Yeah.
And I think that's the main thing that we can all take away, is that no matter what, we're going to be left with a title challenging team.
Yeah, 100%. I completely, whoever, and maybe this is why the rebuild happened this season. Maybe Klopp knew, look, I can't do this much longer. I will be going at the end of this season. Maybe that's why these players have come in, so that whoever does take over, there's a, like you mentioned there, there's a ground to come off from. There's something to build on. And Klopp, you know, guys, let me know what you guys think, because I might be off base with this. I think the biggest concern is from my perspective personally. I don't think it's a case of we're not going to have Klopp. It's just I'm scared of what we're going to do without him, if that makes sense. Like, are we going to capitulate? Are we going to get worse? Like, it's more the unknown that really scares me, because Benitez was at us for 6 years. Rodgers was with us for 4 years, 5 years, 3, 4
Around
years,
there,
something like that. Klopp's been with us for 8 years. Like, that's a long time, and it's a scary thought of, are we going to get worse? Are we going to go backwards? Are we going to end up in the sort of Brendan Rodgers era, or maybe worse, maybe even like the Roy Hodgson kind of stage of things? Like, and there's players in that squad as well. And let me know what you guys think in the comments, and Carter, I want to get your thoughts on this as well. There are players in this team who might look at us and go, well, Klopp was a big factor in me coming here.
Yeah.
There's no Klopp. There's no me. Salah is possibly on the verge of, Saudi might not happen, but he could leave. You know, Van Dijk as he's our captain now, but who's to say if a big, like, you know, a huge, like a Real Madrid or a Barcelona or something don't come in, he decides, oh well, actually, yeah. I mean, is there anyone who could leave this squad when Klopp goes?
I think that, as you kind of alluded to about the rebuild, I actually think that most of those guys have left. I feel like it would have been guys who, although they've been great servants, I think if, let's say, Alonso came in last season, I think a lot of those guys who would leave would have been maybe Fabinho, like Ox, Keita, Henderson, Milner. I think it would have been all those guys who for Klopp, they're great, and they're his guys. It's like Sir Alex had Wes Brown and John O'Shea and like Darren Gibson and those kind of guys. And those were Klopp's, those kind of guys. So I think when Alonso comes in, he'd look and go, you're on too much, you're on a lot of money, you're on a lot of money, you're on a lot of money. Get shot, 40 million from Saudi Arabia. Great, I'll get this guy who I like in. So I think some of those players, it might be difficult to keep, like, depending on what's available. But also you look at, like, would they want to go to Barcelona? Like, is Salah wanting to go there at the moment? Like, is there a space at Real Madrid if they sign Mbappe? Is there, like, I almost think it also puts pressure on us to make sure we get a top appointment, because that will ensure that players will stay. Like, if we did an awful appointment, I think players might look around and go, oof. It might be a few years. Like an example is maybe Torres, because he's come out and said that FSG or whatever said, we aren't going to be competing for the next 3 or 4 years. We'd like you to stay, but like there's an offer, we've accepted it, but we don't think we're going to compete for the next 3 or 4 years. So he was like, well, they've accepted the offer and this is the timeline. I'm going to leave. So you could almost look at Salah and go, what am I going to be, 35, 36 by the time I have a chance to win another league? But if it's someone like Alonso, they might go, yeah, I'll stay. But I'm just very like, it's just difficult. It's going to be difficult because no matter what, I'm trying to think of like a comparison. It's like,
yeah, that's
the
tricky.
second time isn't going to be as good as the first time, is it? Like when the first time you experience something, it's like if you go up on a roller coaster and you go, I don't know if you've been to like Fort Park, if you've been on Stealth,
Yeah.
the first time you're like, oh wow. Second time you're a bit like, oh, I've done this already. Like it's never going to be as good as your first. So I think that's always going to be the issue of whoever comes in. It's like you're like the rebound.
I suppose that's like, well, Chelsea have had a lot of that. Like Mourinho came in, and in 2003, 2004, they dominated the league, won 2 league titles in a row, and everyone said best manager in the club's history, best title wins. And then he got sacked, and then managers afterwards won it, and everyone said like, it's great we won it, but it's just not as fondly remembered. Like Klopp's given us, and I've said it before, he's given us some of the greatest moments in Liverpool history. He's won us our first Premier League title. He's won every possible trophy. And when he came in, the expectation was, we could build something here. We might win a trophy. We might win something. We have won, and Carter's back. We have won. We've reached 3 Carabao Cup finals now, an FA Cup final and won it, and we've won one of the Carabao Cups, a Europa League final, 3 Champions League finals and won 1. We've been in 3 Premier League title races and won 1, and we're in another one now. He took this club from Benteke, Barini, Ricky Lambert, Balotelli, Martin Skrtel, who I love, but still, like, all these players who just were not good enough, and he transformed us into one of the greatest teams in the history of the Premier League. And at one point, the best team in the world, and that can't be overstated. That people talk about the FSG restrictions. People talk about players have left, players have come in who weren't good enough. That shows how good Klopp's been. And for me, I think if there's a Mount Rushmore of Premier League managers, you've got Alex Ferguson, Jose Mourinho, Wenger, Pep. If there's 5, Klopp's up there. Yeah.
Oh no, definitely. And I was thinking about you saying the players that come in. Like, let's say Klopp had like a testimonial. Are there any like rogue names that you'd like to see? Like in my head, I'm thinking I'd love to see Moreno. I'd love to see Sacco. I'd love to see Woodburn. Like hopefully after all the Alcatraz stuff, maybe they can mend the bridge. But
Sacco
when he was he was late to whatever. Like I just love to see like Moreno or Clavan or like just some not stupid, but you know what I mean, some quite rogue players. At the testimonial, because obviously now you think how many players he's gone through. Like there might be 1 or 2, like maybe Balotelli. I don't. Also, no, he wasn't there, was he? Was he there?
So
he was
Klopp's
there.
First season, he sold him.
So he might not come, but you might maybe get Ricky Lambert wishing some energy into the water at half time, or like it would just be quite like I'd like to see sort of some of the rogues, because obviously you could see Klopp having quite like a good relationship with a lot of players, so it'd probably be like 20 players on each team, but something like that I'd be quite excited to see at one point. I don't know about you. Have you got any names you'd like to throw out?
I mean, if it's in terms of the players who just weren't like good enough or just sort of out there ones, Lazar Markovic comes to mind.
That'd be good.
Give me stress. Lazar Markovic, Daniel Sturridge. I love Daniel Sturridge. It'd be fun to see him come back. I'm sure he would. Manquillo was a Rodgers one. Alberto Moreno is a great shout. Martin Skrtel, Ragnar Klavan, Stephen Corker. Let's get Stephen Corker back for a testimonial. Up front as striker, I'd absolutely love that. And
Nabil Fekir.
Oh god,
just see him play for Liverpool once.
Past the medical this time. I mean, it's a scary thought, and I think football fans, we don't like change. Let's be honest, we don't like change. We didn't like it when Suarez left. We didn't like it when Coutinho left. Obviously, we started to because of what we did afterwards, but we don't want change. And if it was down to every Liverpool fan, I think they'd have Klopp in that dugout until the day he can't walk anymore. That's just a fact of life. But it is something that we're going to have to come to terms with. And as sad as I am and as scared as I am at the same time curious to see what we do next season now. Like, who's going to be in that dugout? How are we going to perform? What's the atmosphere around Anfield going to be like? Is it going to be a sort of, well, you're not Klopp, so we don't really care as much? Or is it going to be, right, you're the new guy, you're taking over from one of the greatest managers in our history. Let's get behind him. Let's give him the support he needs. And I'd love Alonso to be the man 100%. There's no one else in my mind who really I can think of who is immediately, doesn't have to be even immediately good enough, but there's no one who I'm looking at and thinking, you could do it. People have said De Zerbi. I do not want De Zerbi. I think he's a very overrated manager, in all honesty. And I don't know. It's just, we are going to carry on. Like I said, nothing's been really prepared, guys, for the stream. It is very much sort of thrown together. I want everyone to comment below what is your favourite Jurgen Klopp moment. We're going to discuss little bits about his history at the club now. But everyone comment down below favourite Klopp moments. I'll be putting them up on the screen as we go. I mean, Carter, there's a million of them, but can you give me sort of a couple Jurgen Klopp moments that stand out? They don't necessarily have to be matches. They can be things he's said and done.
I think I always like it's on like I'm pretty sure the BT Sport YouTube channel. When he's like, "Oh, it's the water break. The children have gone to sleep." And he just goes, "These boys, they're just mentality giants." He's like, "Just find me. Like I'm not a native speaker." Like that's always one I really enjoy.
Yeah.
Like the Everton, the Origi goal when he runs on and hugs Alisson. Like there's just so many, and also I kind of thought about this. Like I don't really like the royal family. Like I don't really care. But I always like, when you get like the Klopp message, like, "Oh, Merry Christmas, guys." Like it's always nice when you see that, or you see like him go to the hospital, or like there was the other day, there was the young lad with like I don't want to get it wrong, but like maybe like a form of like a sort of like muscular disease or like motor neuron disease. And Klopp was he's so good. Yeah. Klopp was so good when he took him round. It's all stuff like that where it's going to be so difficult for someone to be like he is Liverpool. Like for certain teams, like if you think of certain teams, like you think of a player, but I think like City and Liverpool, it's like Pep and Klopp. Like when you think of Liverpool, you think of Klopp. You don't think of Van Dijk or Alisson or Salah. So I think it's just going to be a bit crazy. But what about you?
I mean, there's a few. From doubters to believers is my favourite ever moment, because I think that was, if there was ever a message to come into this club with at the time, we have to change from doubters to believers, is the perfect message. And we did. And we can't thank him enough for that. I like weird ones. There's a particular one. I think we're playing Villarreal in the Europa League, and James Milner gets a slide tackle in, like a really, really good one.
Yeah.
And he pumps his fist in the air, and then he starts turning to the crowd and like waving his arms up, getting everyone to celebrate. And I love stuff like that. I love the celebration against Arsenal in that season where he sprints down the touchline in the pissing down rain. Like you said, the Alisson moments, absolutely fantastic. When he's shouting Adrian on the pitch after Adrian won the Super Cup. When he's on the webcam crying when we won the Premier League. I adore the man. And he's just, some of the moments he's given us. We've talked about moments off the pitch. I think moments on the pitch as well. Some of the comebacks, mentality monsters or mentality giants, like you said, does not sum it up. Like what particular victories or comebacks sort of stand out to you from Klopp's time at the club?
I almost think I'm not going to say it's a loss, but I think for a lot of people, I think the turning point was after we got battered by Spurs. After Lovren had a bad game, and kind of after that, I think everyone kind of felt like, oh, something's like shifted, like we're on. But I always think I'm trying to think. I think I always like the Leicester game, like where Trent scores.
Yeah.
And like I always think games where sort of league games where you didn't have the front three, like when we played Everton and it was like Shaqiri, Origi, Mane, and like Origi chips the goalkeeper, and it's just things like that. I always think those ones where you go like, we're just so good, we don't even need our best player. Like those ones always stick with me. But I think I didn't watch this game. I was at work. I was working at Fort Park, and I was going around. You're not allowed your phone on you, and I was like selling fast track tickets. And I was like, "Oh, what's the score? What's the score?" And like, yeah, you're losing 1-0 to Aston Villa. Finish work like 8 p.m. and you just see Robertson 96th minute. Like that's one where I was like, okay, we're gonna win the league. Like we're gonna win the league, or the Man United game where we actually sung we're going to win the league. But what do you kind of think?
No, the Man United one is a great one. The Aston Villa comeback. I was out on I think it was a stag do at that point, and it was in the pub, and I was like, right, we need to have a break here. I need to watch this. That one stood out. I'm trying to think of like, because everyone says Barcelona, everyone says Dortmund, everyone says like this and that. I'm trying to think of games which really summed up Jurgen Klopp's sort of never say die attitude. The Origi one against Everton, that one definitely is a brilliant one. And it's really difficult. I know it's a bit of a sort of recency bias, but that Newcastle win earlier this season was phenomenal. We've had brilliant Champions League victories. There's been so many that we never got under the likes of Brendan Rodgers, really, and we did slightly under Rafa Benitez, obviously Istanbul, but Klopp is, from my perspective, he's the best manager in the world at saying to a team, right, you're not out of this. That Barcelona game after the first leg going into the second, and he said it's impossible, but because we've got you, there's a chance. Yeah, that just sums him up. That's Klopp in a microcosm. Like that's just him, and I don't have enough good words to say about him. Someone said Joe Allen as well for the testimonial. I love that. I like Joe Allen, to be fair. I don't think he was dreadful. He was one of those players who he improved under Klopp massively, I think. Now, this is an interesting topic, actually, because it's one that I've heard a few people discuss, is former players who would have been superb under Jurgen Klopp, and I've got a few in my mind. Is there any that sort of stand out to you?
I don't think he would have been a starter, but I almost feel if you'd have given Klopp Aspas as like a Minamino, I think he could have been someone where he might not have had the physicality, but as a sort of impact player, or I think Aga probably would have been good. I think, to be honest, everyone would have been better. Like Dirk Kuyt, like I think he would have been one where the fans actually might have been like, we need to upgrade him, but he does everything right. He might have almost been like the Milner of the attack. But who sort of comes to mind for you?
Dirk Kuyt was the one he was number one choice in my head. There's another player. I don't know when you started watching it, but you'll probably know who it is anyway. We had a player called Yossi Benayoun. He would have been unbelievable in this Klopp team because he just ran and he never stopped, and he was so committed to winning the ball back, and he was great going forward at points. So I think Benayoun would have been brilliant. Aspas is a great shout. I didn't even think of Aspas, to be fair. That's a really good one. Other than that, I mean,
there's the obvious ones, isn't there? Like if you put Steven Gerrard in there, what are we? 3-time Invincibles, 5-time Champions League winners, like greatest team of all time. But
Gerrard's an interesting, because I think Gerrard, everyone goes if he'd stayed for one more season, but that season that Klopp came in was all about like high pressure rock and roll football. I don't know if Gerrard had the legs for it at that point, so I don't know what his role would have been really. If it was the younger Gerrard, 100%.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, Torres as well. Torres would have been. If you look at Nunes, like if you put Torres there, like I think Nunes is great. I'm not here for any Nunes slander, but if you look at Torres third in the Ballon d'Or to what Messi and Ronaldo, like it'd be undeniable. Like he'd be unbelievable for us.
Yeah, 100%. Someone says Steve McManaman, brilliant shout. I think Steve McManaman would have been great. John Barnes would have been another one. I would have loved to have seen him play under Jurgen Klopp. John Arne Riise. I adore John Arne Riise. I think he was one of the best attacking fullbacks in the Premier League. Him under Klopp would have been unbelievable. And he would have given Robinson a run for his money, I think, if he'd have played this system. Now, if anyone's got any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. We're just sort of like I said today, guys, there is nothing really planned. Please just do make sure to hit like and subscribe. Yeah, I mean, there was no structure. It is just very sort of thrown together. We just need to give our quick reactions to Jurgen
Actually,
Klopp
I've
leaving.
maybe got a question for you. Actually, like, is there any, apart from maybe Jude, has there been anyone, and maybe Mbappe, has there been anyone who you've looked at whilst Klopp's been here and been like, oh, you know, when we like someone we could have signed, or it looks like we might have signed? Is there anyone who's your maybe, like,
Ooh.
apart from the obvious ones, like when we've been linked to every name under the sun, who's sort of the player that you would have gone, I would have liked him to be a Liverpool player?
Does it have to be players that we've been linked with, or can it be ones that I've just thought I want him?
Maybe one linked, one just one you would have liked.
Ooh. Linked. I mean, back in the day when Klopp first joined, I wanted Mario Götze. I thought he would have been a good. That was like back when he first came in, though. We were linked with all the Dortmund players, but yeah, he was one. Jude Bellingham, definitely. I was resigned to think that he was coming. I thought that was a guaranteed, nailed on thing. A player I would have wanted. That's tricky. I mean, I've always said Saka is the ideal Salah replacement, in my opinion. But someone I would have wanted. Oh, that's quite difficult. Have you got someone in mind? Because I'm having a think here. I'm really struggling.
I'd say linked. Who did I have in my head? I'd say, I think I'd linked one in a sec. I would have said someone I would have liked would have been maybe Griezmann, as like sort of playing the Firmino role. And then for someone who we were linked with, it's just gone off the top of my head. Gundogan. Like when he was at Dortmund, he was one where, although he had the injury issues, if you look at like the team now, how good could we have been with him? You look at his legacy at Man City, like his sort of goals from midfield, I think would have been great.
Yeah, that's a great shout. Gundogan, and you know what as well, given the fact that he did have those injury problems, he still pressed. He was still he's always felt like a Jurgen Klopp player. It's just Pep was able to sort of hone him a bit better in terms of his technical ability. Just Jurgen Klopp has, if you were to make a list of all the players that Jurgen Klopp's made from good players or average players to great players, not just at Liverpool, but at Dortmund, you'd be here forever. And I don't think he gets enough credit, because it's the thing that frustrates me the most is if Pep wasn't here, if City weren't breaking the rules every 5 minutes. Sorry if there's any City fans watching, but it's true, 115 and all that. Klopp would have won everything. He would have won everything. And I don't know if maybe having City there pushing him made us better, or if it's just a case of City were too good and we would have been that good anyway. I don't know, but what have you got a thought on that? Because it really bothers my mind, to be honest.
I think it's always difficult. Like I understand, like you see on Twitter when you see like City pull and they're like they've won 4 or 5 titles. Like I think we probably still wouldn't have won. We probably wouldn't have been as dominant as them. We've had our down years, but it's just unfortunate, isn't it? It's just sometimes you're just so unlucky. Like, even like maybe almost a good comparison is, although they won the Champions Leagues, if you look at like Ronaldo at Madrid, he won 2 league titles. Like if he was there in a non-Messi time, he's got 10 league titles, probably the same amount of Champions Leagues, but sometimes you just get unlucky with who you're up against. Like, it's just unfortunate. Like, sort of some of Wenger's years with his best team, there was the years of Mourinho, and then after that, there's Ronaldo, Rooney, and Tevez. So sometimes even though you're really good and you do really well, I think sometimes you're just unlucky. Like if he was at City, he might have done better than Pep, he might not have, but it would have been interesting. Like I almost feel like Klopp, it's gonna sound a bit this might sound bad, but I think if you look at Klopp and Pep, it is like Sir Alex and Wenger.
Yeah.
Like Wenger's done more with less, and Wenger's had to recruit cheaper, and he's got these top like Henry and Salah. You've got like maybe in terms of, because the centre back, I can't think of one at that sort of same time, but you've got Vieira and Van Dijk, who are absolute monsters. You just dominate games and they're leaders. Like they just recruit these good players, but they're just that little bit. They have a little bit less money. They can't always keep people. Like Coutinho left. Like, do you know what I mean? Like that's just the little differences, isn't it? Like just
Yeah.
little things that make a big difference.
No, I agree, and I think it's a perfect comparison, to be honest. And Klopp's always sort of felt like, I think I've always said that I think Pep's the better technical manager in terms of he can get a side, maybe playing better football, but Klopp is the better man manager, and he can make chicken salad out of chicken. Just he's that type of manager. I think we're going to shoot in a minute, guys. We haven't, like I said, this is it was a sort of quick reaction. Look, the news is that it's devastating. It's come out of nowhere. I think that's maybe the biggest shock. As to why. Yeah, it's just the biggest shock in the world, because he's left the club in just when we weren't expecting it. I think if this was a sort of end of the season or the end of his contract, it's come out of nowhere. In your opinion now, before we go, is this going to make Liverpool better this season, or do you think that we could possibly see a major decline coming?
I think it might make us better, but there is the chance that everyone gets, if we just fall out of the title race, it could get a bit silly and emotional. And I'm interested to hear what you think. But I just thought of this. I wanted to ask you, what do you think has been the best goal, and what do you think has been the best kit under Klopp? Obviously, you can answer your question as well, but you know what I mean? I was just thinking that in my head.
Best goal and best kit. So the best Klopp goal. Oh, that's a difficult one, because there's been a few. Shaqiri scored an overhead kick against United in the pre-season match. That was really good. Salah's against Chelsea, the long ranger, that was superb. Trent scored a good few.
I'd say Chan and the Liverpool kit we won the Champions League in, or the stripe one. I'd say the one we won the Champions League in, and the Chan goal.
I agree, the Champions League kit. I think I did like the Premier League one, but it's one of those ones that, looking back, it's not my favourite kit. I think the Champions League winning one, and I also really like the one that we had in the year we nearly did the quadruple. I like that with the stripes going down. That was really nice. Best goal, Chan's a great shout, but I think that one's a really difficult one.
Joe Gomez's goal at the end of the season.
If Gomez doesn't score, I'm going to be livid, because it's going to happen. While I'm having to think about the goal, should have waited till the end of the season and announced a new manager at the same time. There might not be we might not have a new manager at that point. And in the modern day, it'd be chaos. It would be, we're getting rid of Klopp, but here's your new manager. The new manager's going to come in to a barrage of negativity, because everyone's going to be focused on Klopp leaving. No one's going to really want to know about the new manager. I agree. I think that doing it now is a weird time, but it makes the most sense. I'd rather know now rather than going, we can prepare for next season with this player, this plan, and then have it go out the window. And then we've got to go through a whole summer transition. And there are people saying as well that the backroom staff are leaving. I think that always happens with Klopp. He tends to have the same team around him. And when he goes, they go with him, because they go to whichever club he's going to. Favorite goal? I'm really struggling.
But as you're thinking, I'll say about that comment as well. I think the issue is, let's say we move forward with the summer business. If we let's say we do just have a meeting with Mbappe, everything from that meeting is going to get leaked. And if we're well, Klopp actually isn't going to be the manager next year. And then suddenly, or if you're speaking to a centre-back, or if you're speaking to a midfielder, or you're speaking to Frimpong at Leverkusen, you say, well, we'd like to sign you, but Klopp's not going to be here in 6 months.
Yeah.
So imagine then that starts coming out, and there's things like, he's leaving. And then he has to announce it. I think we've now looked and gone, I think all business for everyone, for managers, for players, for the summer, starts after January. So I think you just had to come out, because there's no way these things stay private. If someone's going to hear, a player's going to tell his brother or his mate and be I don't know if I want to go, Klopp's leaving. So I think we just had to get out ahead of it. I haven't seen, there's always going to be rubbish, accounts saying, or fake people aren't even journalists, like those fake accounts, going to be like Klopp might leave, Klopp might leave. But I think it's better that they've just got out ahead of it and just put it down and said, this is it.
Yeah. No, I agree. And like, who's to say when our new manager will be announced? We could announce our next manager next week. Do you know what I mean? And then it's sort of like, well, okay, fine. I still don't think we're going to announce anyone till the end of the season, because Alonso's side are in such a
good
big
position.
Title challenge. Yeah, they're in a good position. They don't need to know that their manager's leaving. The seed might be planted in their head now that Klopp's leaving anyway, but I just don't think it's necessary at the minute. I've made the decision. I think my favourite goal is... I've really been thinking about this because there's been so many. I really like Daniel Sturridge against Chelsea. The long-range curling effort. Yeah. Because that goal was... It was a player. I love Daniel Sturridge, and I think he's one of those players who, at that point, he was out of the Liverpool team, really. And it was so... It encapsulated Jurgen Klopp's side perfectly, that you might not be playing a lot, you might not be playing every game, but you can still come up with that moment. And that was that never say die attitude. But I love that goal for that reason. Like you mentioned, Emre Can's is superb. Trent scored some... gets us top 4. Trent scored some absolutely blinder goals. There's a million to choose from. I just think the Daniel Sturridge one really stands out. And Fabinho, he scored some crackers as well.
The City one.
Right. City one, the City one, Crystal Palace. There's been quite a few, actually, to be fair. Darwin scored some decent ones. Like I said, Xherdan Shaqiri, the bicycle kick against United was great. No, actually, I changed my mind completely. I actually do change my mind. Alisson's header against West Brom. Yeah. Sorry, Alisson, but changed my mind completely there. I think that's the number one. Right, guys, we are gonna shoot. Everyone, just please make sure to hit like and subscribe. We'll give our sort of closing sort of statements on Jurgen Klopp. Cards, do you want to go first? Give your sort of final thoughts on Jurgen. Just Jurgen Klopp in general, to be honest.
I almost think it's like, because like sport is almost like it's, I can't remember what the word is, but it's like a smaller version of like real life. Like sport is real life. It's just within sport. And I almost look at Klopp now. If you look at, like, I don't want to get political, but if you look at the UK and you look at America, and you just think that where are actually these good leaders? Where are these people that inspire people, that make people better, that do good, that seem like good people? Klopp is almost like, he's not the manager, he's like the president of Liverpool. He's like the prime minister. Like, it's almost, it is just like, he's so much like larger than life. Like it's just going to be difficult. Like, I do think like he's just so like, he's everything you want in a leader. Like if he's someone where, like, if you look at George Weah was like president of Liberia, like Klopp is someone who I could see going and being like, he just would be very inspiring and he could do that kind of thing. Or like lead a nation, like probably Germany at some point. Like, I'm just a bit sad, but I think everyone's kind of, I think we can give ourselves today, we can be a bit emotional, but after that, I think you've got to enjoy it. Like, sometimes, like, there's no point us all being sad this whole time. We can be sad now. We can be, hopefully at the end, it's happy sad that he's gone out on top. But I think everyone's just got to enjoy it. If you've got work, like, don't work on those days, have those nights off, finish early, like, watch the games. Like, if you work on the weekend, get the cup finals booked off. Like, just enjoy every game. You got to enjoy it. Like, it's a bit shocking because there's maybe 25-ish games left, maybe around 30. You've just got, I'm going to make sure I'm watching every game. Like, you just got to enjoy it. Like, that's what I just think. You got to enjoy it.
Yeah. I completely agree. I think that's a very positive way of looking at it that a lot of us aren't doing at the moment. And for good reason. Jurgen Klopp, and again, I'm going to try not to cry here. Jurgen Klopp is one of the greatest managers in the history of, I'm going to say football, and that's an outlandish statement to a lot of people, I understand that, but Jurgen Klopp has given myself and every Liverpool fan some of the happiest memories. Those 90 minutes are a joy to watch. And even in the bad seasons, last season, 3 years ago, things were bad. There was always the sort of sense of, we're going to come back because we trusted him. Klopp is, if Liverpool Football Club was a person, it's Klopp. And people will say Gerrard, people will say Bill Shankly, of course, the legends of the club, but Klopp is the modern day Bill Shankly. And that's a very big statement, but what he's done to build this club from where we were to where we are, with the financial restraints that are given to him, with the players that he's brought in, a Chelsea reject, someone who went down with Hull, someone who was at Southampton, someone who conceded 7 in the Champions League, and Alisson. He's turned them into world-beating megastars who took this club to our first ever Premier League title, a Champions League, every possible trophy, and has given us all. And if Klopp's leaving because he feels he can't physically do it anymore, I can think of no better reason for him to leave, because at least he's being honest with the club and he's not saying, oh, well, it's time to move on because I can't do much else. He was as honest as he could, as he was in that interview, and you could tell that he looked like he was close to tears. And I wish him well. I hope he does whatever his next thing is after Liverpool at the end of the season. I hope he succeeds in it. We just need to make sure that for the rest of this season, we win everything. Yeah. We need to pay him back. And that last game at Anfield, we need to be lifting the Premier League trophy. I've always been a sort of, we're not going to win it. City are going to do it. Now we have to do it, because there's an emphasis on it to make sure that we win that trophy. Right, we are going to shoot then, guys. Like I said, please do make sure to hit like and subscribe. I know it's been a really horrible day, but I hope you all do still have a good weekend, a good day. Things will change, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be for the worse. We can still progress and still improve. And watch this space, because any breaking news that happens, we'll be doing the same thing like we've done today. Thank you very much, Carter, for coming on. Very short notice. Really appreciate it, mate. Everyone have a great day, and we will see you soon.